Social systems theory. Social systems theory is a way of thinking about how parts fit into the whole. It's also been described as a theory about theories. So my intent with this lecture is to break down the various components of systems theory to help you understand how it is played out. So the first definition is system. So a system is a set of elements that function as a whole. And that might be an individual, it might be a family, it might be a group, it might be a community, it might be an organization, it might be an agency. So there's a wide variety of different systems that can be plugged into social systems theory. The supersystem is the social environment when we talk about human behavior in the social environment. So it's the specific social context within which the system functions. Boundaries. This is where the system ends. So if you are a member of an organization or you're not a member of the organization, you're either a social work major or you're not a social work major. So it is that very clear delineation of where that system ends and who has membership in that system. The subsystem is exactly what it sounds like. It is a smaller system within the larger system. So we can talk about the division of social work being a subsystem within the University of Wyoming. Homeostasis. This is the desire for the system to maintain the status quo, to maintain that balance. Now that doesn't mean that it is a healthy system and that the individuals within that system are pleased with what's going on, but it is that desire to know what is expected and to continue knowing and being able to predict and know everyone's role. And so that homeostasis is the desired state in a system. Roles. Misch describes a role as a socially expected behavior pattern determined by an individual's status and expectations in a particular group or society. So each of us plays different roles in different systems. As a student at the University of Wyoming, there are expectations about what you will do as a student, that you will do your homework, that you will come to class, that you will take tests, that you will pay your tuition, all those sorts of factors. There are expectations of what you will do in that role. Relationships. Now, relationships in systems theory can be between two individuals or two entities. So it might be the relationship and communication that happens between Jane and Joe, or it might be the relationship between the local church and the YMCA and the supports that they give each other and the expectations within that relationship that they will provide volunteers, space, those sorts of aspects. One of the most vital pieces of systems theory is the input and the output. So the input is exactly what it sounds like. What is coming into that system? So if we were talking again about the University of Wyoming, input would be students. It would also be finances, whether that be through state dollars, through research grants, or through students' tuition. Now, we have the output on the other side of the spectrum, which is students hopefully graduating, although we do have students who leave the university who haven't graduated, so that's more of a negative output piece. Sometimes called waste, if you're really going to get technical in systems theory. And then you have ideas like research that has happened, so new knowledge and information. And then, I think I already said this, but students graduating, coming out of the system. So like all good feedback loops, we have feedback. We have negative feedback, and we have positive feedback. So if we're going to take it back to that student perspective, the feedback that you provide in your student evals may be negative feedback, or it might be positive feedback. And that negative feedback, we're hoping that a system will take that information and then make necessary changes. That doesn't always happen, but that's the desired piece, is that the negative feedback will then come in and result in changes in order to make the system better. Of course, positive feedback is that, all right, we're doing the right piece, we're making progress, and so we need to keep going on this track. The interface is where two systems come in contact with each other, interact, or communicate. So again, it can be individuals, families, groups, communities, organizations, and it is, for example, communication between an agency supervisor and her supervisee. It might be you asking for information or feedback on your paper. And again, I hate to use that term feedback because I don't want you to confuse the two. But the interface might be us having a conversation, a dialogue in the classroom where you're asking for clarification on a point, or we are interacting with one another. Differentiation is the idea that a system will move to become more complex as time passes. And if we take that on an individual level, as a system, as in one individual, as you age, you gain more knowledge, you gain more experience, and so it becomes a more complicated, you become a more complicated being. You understand information in a different way. You make decisions based on your life experiences, and so it is all the complex pieces. If you're an agency and you start off offering a group for sexual assault survivors, and then it expands to maybe, I'm trying to think of a good one, maybe to children of sexual survivors, and so there is a need to, they find a need to expand services. So that's that differentiation, is that a system becomes more complicated and it starts offering more services. Entropy. So entropy is the idea that there is also a natural tendency of a system to progress towards disorganization, depletion, and death. This is the idea that nothing lasts forever, although, so if we're going to talk about an individual again, an individual becomes more complex as time goes on. They also age, their body starts to wear out, and we have the whole life cycle piece. And so that's this idea of entropy. So part of entropy is open and closed systems. So is the system closed so that it's not accepting feedback, it's not interfacing with the supra system, or is it open and getting information from that supra system and working against entropy? I'm probably not going to say this correctly, but I think it's equifinality. And it refers to the fact that there are many different means to achieve the same end. So there's not just one way of doing whatever it is that you want to do, and that there are many different alternatives. And I think that is it.